When you see flashing lights of any color on the road ahead of you, slow down, move over, and give them room to work. It's the law in Pennsylvania. Police are cracking down and penalties for violators are on the rise. This message is brought to you by Penn Time and the Beasley Media Group. Learn more about Pennsylvania traffic incident management at penntime.com.
The following programming is sponsored by Thomas Toole III. The views expressed do not necessarily reflect this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group.
Good afternoon, Greater Philadelphia area. This is Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. Amy Q from our team will be here momentarily. We both work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Mainline, the number one RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And we've got a new Fed chair announcement. We've got a Fed meeting to wrap up. Housing demand still very positive after this winter snowstorm. Here's Amy, apparently. Big accident on 202. Shocking, right? That happens all the time. And we're seeing buyer affordability improve. We're also going to talk about how Philadelphia was named one of the top 10 hottest housing markets by Zillow and a top 10 job market as well. And we've got two killer new listings we're going to unpack here. So if you get some value out of this, or you like what you hear, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. And if you want to schedule a call with our team and Amy specifically, you can do that with the link right in the comments. So while she's getting settled, glad you made it, Amy. You got to get in the shot here. You can't stand all the way to the side. So we're seeing, we had some big news last week. There was a new Fed chair announcement from President Trump. We also had a Fed meeting where the Federal Reserve held the federal funds rate at the 350 to 375 range, no basis point cuts in a 10-2 vote, which was expected. I know the Fed likes it when everyone votes unanimously here. They did not in this case. So any reaction from the market from the Fed meeting? Anything you're seeing in the field, Amy, or buyers and sellers talking about this? What's the temperature out in the field?
Well, from just the last week or so, I feel as though they kept feeling as though their payments are going to react a little differently. Mm-hmm. So to them, they were like, hey, let's run some more numbers. Let's look at maybe, looking at this property instead of this one, just because now the numbers might look a little different.
Sure.
Yeah. So I got a few questions on that.
And, it's always, when you see these meetings come out, to me, it's always about the comments. I don't think this was very widely expected. There was going to be no rate cut. And I think that the bigger news that happened on Friday was the announcement of Kevin Warsh as the new Federal Reserve chairman. So, before we get into Kevin Warsh, there is talk of hoping that the Fed's going to be united moving forward because they don't like these dissenting votes. There was two governors, Miron and Waller, who were auditioning for the Fed chair. I think that's why they voted in favor of a 25 basis point cut rather than the holding pattern that the other 10 Federal Reserve governors voted for. So I think that had something to do with it. Now that there's a new chair in place, I'm wondering if the Fed's going to be a little more united. And that probably is only going to lead to another 2 rate cuts this year, which would put us into neutral territory and probably more of the same when it comes to the market. I mean, and we've talked about this a lot internally, that I think there was this hope that the market's just going to change this year. Things are going to open up. All this inventory is going to come to the market. Rates are coming down. I'm pretty clear that's not going to be the case. How are you communicating this to your clients right now? Because there's hope that this will change. I don't see any data that tells me the market's going to change too much between now and the end of the year.
Well, it's a tough conversation because they want to hear always what they want to hear. Yeah. I want, I got to stay within this price range, and I want to see these types of homes. So we just keep saying, nobody has that crystal ball. We're not quite sure, what we're dealing with, after 3 straight cuts. Now it's kind of like, all right, maybe we won't see anything for a little while, but it's affordable. Let's look at that monthly payment and not focus so much on anything else. And let's get you in a comfortable spot so we can find you that right house. Is kind of like the conversations we're having.
Yeah, and I think the tough part about that is that the Fed really can't do anything to change mortgage rates. The market's going to react really based on what we've seen is inflation numbers, which have been in the low 2s, and the jobs numbers. And the jobs numbers to me are the big driver here more than anything else. And the Fed can't do anything about this. As much as the president would like to be able to control interest rates, it's just not happening. It's not going to go that way. Even with the $200 billion in mortgage-backed securities purchases, we saw there was kind of a blip in the radar, and then rates just jumped back up into the low sixes, which tells me we're probably going to be in the same spot the rest of the year. So when you're delivering news people don't necessarily want to hear, and they need to hear to make a sound financial decision, what are the things you're talking about? Because a lot of folks, like, they gravitate towards what they want to hear, not what they need to hear, and they don't often transact that or get what they want when it comes to housing.
Um, it's always a tough conversation because, like we always teach, where we are at Remax, it's very, this might not be what you want to hear, but a good agent's going to tell you what you need to hear, not always what you want to hear. So unfortunately, these are the facts. We have these as our rates. As rates come down, we're able to adjust those payments. This is where you need to be comfortably. These are the homes, these are your three non-negotiables. Let's really dive in and see if we can get exactly what you're looking for. Let's look at our options. And then if the conversation has to get tougher from there, we take it from there. But I've had a lot of success. They're kind of like, okay, you have to give and take, right? No house is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So take what you're willing to cave on and have your non-negotiables as well.
Yeah, and I mean that's really why people are going to move. If you're trying to time your move around what the Fed is doing, that's not a good strategy, and you're never going to be able to get on with your life. I mean, and there's got to be a reason that you're making a move for other things besides financial gain or a lower payment or like the ideal time. It usually doesn't really work that way. So that's really great advice, Amy. And when we get into this Federal Reserve chairman pick here, so it was Kevin Warsh, which I think was a little bit of a surprise until yesterday. Like they have so many of these. There's this website, it's called like Kalashi or something, and they actually put odds on like who's going to get named to all these different appointees, which is pretty interesting. Thursday night, it was 85% chance he was going to be named the Federal Reserve chairman, and it's clear the president was frustrated with Jerome Powell. And that was building since he really took over the Fed in 2018, and then even though Trump appointed him then, and then it just got worse when he got back into office because it seems like he was too late to make the rate cuts. I think that's been the unanimous observation, is that they were too slow to stop printing money, too slow to stop or start cutting rates, and now you've got Kevin Warsh in here and. Apparently, during an interview with CNBC, he voiced strong concerns about the direction of the central bank. July of last year, he described the need for a leadership change and questioned the credibility. And he said specifically, my view is the group that's there, they're well-intended. I'm sure there's huge amounts of talent. They haven't had interest rates about right for a long time, and they don't really look, as they change goalposts, like they have control and a deep understanding of what's going on. Credibility is the coin of the realm. I mean, that's a pretty aggressive comment there. What do you think about that? And do you think that's going to affect how he guides the Federal Reserve moving forward once he takes the post later this year?
That's tough. I don't know. Like, he stepped into a big position. Clearly, Trump was really frustrated and not knowing, are you going to make another cut or not? I don't know, Tom. That's a tough one. I don't know.
So here's my concern, is that Jerome Powell could still be in the room. Usually when they are done, they leave the Federal Reserve. He could still finish out his term as a governor on the board, and I think he's going to have influence. So I think this is going to be kind of an uphill battle here, and there might be like instant friction when they start tracking things like inflation in the labor market, which it's pretty widely agreed upon by just people with half a brain that the measurements being used are very outdated. I mean, like they're using like owner's equivalent rent. So what you and your husband could hypothetically rent your home out. You're never going to rent your home. Probably going to say, like, would you ever rent your property you live in now?
No.
I wouldn't either, right? So, I mean, those hypothetical numbers are used to track inflation. Well, what good does that do anybody? It's like a guessing game. So now the thing about Kevin Warsh that I like is he actually served on the Federal Reserve previously from 2006 until 2011. And if you want a wartime Federal Reserve chair, I mean, talk about being on the board in 2008. I mean, you had a lot to balance there. So, I mean, when you think about that, I think that's pretty interesting. He's got a lot of banking experience. I like the resume. I like that he was on the board previously, and there's a big gap there. It's not like he's one of these people that got moved up, but he's actually taken a step back. I think that can be a good thing sometimes for people to really evaluate what they did, the mistakes they made, and how they could get better. And he's a little bit hawkish, which I was surprised given what President Trump has been kind of advocating for, which is basically lower rates. So that was a little bit of a surprise. Are you surprised that Kevin Warsh is a little hawkish as opposed to being more of a dovish monetary policy person?
No. Does Trump ever appoint anybody who's not?
Well,
No.
well, he's been advocating for it, though. That's my point, because he said that Powell was too slow, and a hawk is
Right.
going to be a little more conservative when it comes to rate cuts.
Sure. I mean, time will tell, right? I mean, I think that's no surprise. I kind of predicted it'd be somebody like that. And hopefully we'll see a slight change. Like you said, maybe Powell will stick it out a few more months or through the end of the year just to get them all set. But I think that's exactly who they were looking for. Somebody with a little more fire, some new ideas. The rates are the rates. Everybody always wants them to lower, but then when you lower them, other things come into play. So no, I think hopefully we'll see some positive outcome with this new appointee.
Yeah, and I mean, when you look at some of the comments afterwards, President Trump said, "I want to keep it nice and pure" when he's talking about the Federal Reserve, but he certainly wants to cut rates. He's going to come in with his own agenda. I do like that it's someone that's not on the board right now, and there was the people that were already on the Federal Reserve. I think a lot of them were making noise to see if they could actually get the job, and so I do like that. It's someone from the outside. If you look at the outlook here, there's another Fed meeting in 42 days. There's a 91.1% chance we're going to see rates stay where they are right now. That's not a surprise to me for the March 18th meeting. When we get to April, maybe a little bit of a difference there. But the economy, I mean, the GDP has been doing really well. It's been ripping. So, I mean, if you look at what GDP's done, it's not this like faint economy that Jerome Powell is talking about, but instead, I mean, we're seeing an annual rate of 4.3, 4.4 in the fourth quarter. I mean, that's an incredible number. So I think that's something that needs the economy's doing better than people think. Obviously, there's issues with housing that come along with that. So we'll have to see what happens. I tend to agree with you. I think it's going to be a wait and see approach with Kevin Warsh here. I'm glad there's a new voice in the room, though. Sometimes that's important just to
switch it up a little.
Well, he's been in there 8 years. I mean, that's a long time to be doing anything. So, I mean, I've got kids that are only 9. So, I mean, that's like their entire life. So
switch it up.
Well, so let's talk about how this affects housing. And one of the interesting things, despite all this conservative monetary policy, is that there was some data that came out the beginning of the month here, just a couple days ago, from Logan Mohtashami over at Housing Wire, and mortgage rates, they've been hanging around like 6%. We really haven't seen a lot of movement. I mean, they've been low sixes, really. And mortgage applications are up 18% year over year, including a snowstorm that will usually slow things down. Like that snowstorm that hit the Northeast, hit a lot of the U.S., actually, hit the South, hit a lot of places. I thought we would see a slower uptick when it comes to mortgage purchase application data. If you look at where it was compared to last year, so the week of January 7th, we saw the mortgage purchase application index of 2025 is 127.7. This year, it's 159.3. So that's a number. It's significantly higher. January 14th, 184.6. January 14th last year, 162. And then even with this snowstorm here, we're at like 193, 194 for the last 2 weeks of January compared to a 163, 162 rating. So are you feeling that demand locally? I guess is my first question, because that means that home sale, you have to have an agreement of sale for purchase applications to tick up.
Yeah, I do feel it. I feel like it's been a busy January, probably the busiest we've seen in the last couple of years, for me anyway. But I saw a busy end of fourth quarter, specifically that end of November, December outlook last year. So that, that always helps keep people moving. But to your point and your question, yes, I've definitely seen the upswing. Everybody who has to move, for one reason or another, most of the time it's a baby, or
Mhm.
there's been some job transfers I've been helping. Some people from out of state, like the movement is there. Yeah, it's been busy.
I don't want to understate this because 2026 has had the best start to purchase application data in years. And this is the multi-year highs that we've seen. We haven't seen this since 2023. And that was a much different market. And rates reached 5.99% then. I don't think it's a coincidence here that we're talking about rates in the same level. So now this year, conditions differ markedly for mortgage rates because we've seen substantial rate cuts since 2023. The mortgage spreads are back to normal, meaning like the difference between the 10-year and the 30 years in a normal range historically when they track these things. And so, I mean, that tells me that this market we're going to see when things thaw out, especially in the Northeast, and we see more inventory come to the market, it's going to be moving pretty quickly. I don't know if there's going to be a ton more homes that sell. What I am clear on is the market's going to move very fast. So how are you coaching your clients on this right now? Because I mean, if you're out there working now, I think that's smart. You're out there looking now. That's smart for any buyer that's out there. You want to be ahead of the game. Same thing with sellers. So what are you talking to folks about right now?
I feel like we had this swing in, the busy spring market of last year as well. So it's not anything new, although this is what we're predicting. And if it continues like this, it'll be even busier. So the few conversations is how to win, how to set yourself apart on those offers when maybe you're competing against 15 or 20 different offers. And I go through some of the things and strategies, the way I can help them look a little different, look a little stronger. Nobody likes to talk about, why do we have to waive inspections, and sometimes you don't. It's case by case. But I have all of those conversations. It could look like this, or it could look like this. And if we fall somewhere in between, I will guide you through every step. But that's the conversation. How we're going to look a little bit different, and this is how we can do it.
Well, you got to always prepare for those competitive situations. Like you never want to be on the side of this as an agent, or if you're a consumer. And I love what you're talking about here. Imagine if your buyer loses out on a home, and you're like, "Hey, we should have done this." My question would be, why the heck did we not talk about this before we got to this situation? And this is such a miss. I was talking to someone we both know on our team. And they recently interviewed in a very competitive situation. And the person they beat on this particular piece of business, they didn't have a plan. They didn't have a lot of information. It was really basic. And this particular client was very tough. And the good news is that the agent on our team, this person came in and they gave all the options up front. Mm-hmm. And they won the business because of that. So, and then they're probably going to win the offer because of that. And you never want to assume that anyone knows anything about real estate. I think that's the mistake a lot of agents make. They just, this person knows what they're talking about. Nobody knows anything about real estate. Mm-hmm. People move every 12 years. So
they don't.
What your approach is, what I'm hearing, and this is why you're selling a lot of homes, is you're just telling everyone everything. And then they adjust their strategy accordingly. So how does that usually go? Because not everyone's open-minded to hearing what you have to say.
Right. So I lay it all out. We talk about different situations, but I liked when you said, well, what if you lose out? So when we're done talking about every option, and maybe some other agents don't even think of everything, to your point, that's why they lose out. And sometimes you do have to lose one or two or three before you get that one. But once I lay the entire plan out and they think, oh, I've never thought of that. The last thing I say is, we're ready to hit go. We're ready to submit. Mm-hmm. If I call you tomorrow and we lost this house, you can't say we didn't try everything we could. And they're like, you're absolutely right. Mm-hmm. So I get them literally to that point. And then they're very happy. They're very satisfied. If that call comes in that somebody beat us because maybe it was a cash situation, and that's something you can't change. You can't change their finances. You can't go from, hey, I'm going to mortgage to I got cash all of a sudden. So if you lose it because of that, we gave it our all. We put everything on the table. These were our options. And they love that I went step by step with them.
When you look at this data here, and this is why the data really matters, when you're seeing that purchase applications have jumped, that tells you there's a lot of demand. You've got to have a multiple offer mindset when someone says, I want the home. And there's a process to that. And when you skip steps in a process, that's when you get uneven results. That's what a lot of people don't understand. They try to take shortcuts, and it costs their clients, it costs them business. It's not good for anybody.
Mm-mm.
And if we're seeing this kind of demand this early, I've been through a number of markets where they've had snowstorms or Super Bowls and all this stuff. I would imagine it's going to be a fast-paced next 5 months of the year, and it's going to be a sprint up until July 4th for a lot of folks. So, for those people that are sitting on the sidelines, what advice do you have for them? Because this is a significant bump in demand compared to last year, even though, and rates are lower. Like I get all that. The projections are we're not going to see a lot more home sale. Inventory has grown about 13-14%. So we are seeing the market move a little bit. What advice do you have for the people that are kind of hanging back right now? Because buyer affordability is improving, especially with rates dropping down. I mean, the number was buyer affordability improved 7.5% in 2025 as monthly payments dropped through the end of December. So that's significant. So what advice do you have for the people listening, thinking about making a move in 26?
If you're on the sidelines for no good reason, isn't a family issue, or you're just waiting just to see what happens, and the market is starting the way it's been, we're February 3rd here into the year, don't sit any longer, because what you can see and potentially learn as things start to spike is way different than when you're jumping into an April or May market because you think those are the best months to get in.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're in a whole pack of wolves out there.
Yeah.
Right now is the best time to talk to your agent, learn about strategies, be absolutely prepared for whatever it is you're looking for. And you know what? If it takes a month, so what? You have that time. If it takes 2 months, but jumping in when you think is the right time, might not be. This is a good time to actually start because you're going prepared. You're going to become more prepared than anybody else.
So looking at the data here, this is the Mortgage Bankers Association Purchase Applications Payment Index. They call it PAPI. That's the acronym. The national median mortgage payment for home buyers fell to $2,025, down from $2,035 in November. So it may not seem like a lot. That can sometimes that's the difference. That $10, right? $9. That's the difference of maybe like $10,000 in a purchase price. Like that's really what it comes down to. Every $1,000 you move up and down is about $6 a month. So it's a little less than that, but that can help you afford more.
Sure.
And the numbers back up that affordability is improving. Now, this is not an overnight fix. So the national PAPI fell to 148.8 in December from 149.5 in November. So a 0.5% monthly decline. These are all indexes based on a lot of things. It just shows you the decline. What I'm clear on is that even if you're seeing that affordability improve, prices are projected to go up another 4, 5, 6%. So waiting will likely cost you money if you're just waiting for a better situation. Now, if you're waiting for the right house, or there's a family situation going on, or a personal situation, that's when you want to hold off. That's a smart thing to do, is not make a move. But waiting for finances to improve, or the climate to improve, or rates to come down, that's not going to be a winning strategy in 2026. I mean, most of the projections are we're going to see rates best case at 5.9% by the end of the year. They're at 6.17 today. There's not much of a difference there.
Right. I agree. If you're going to be right around that, upper 5s to 6, and you don't have a major situation, like we mentioned, something in the family, looking to make that move, that 4 or 5, on average, we've seen 4 or 5% increases, steady in history. Since COVID, obviously, we've seen a higher number there. But, there you go, losing out on that 4 or 5% because you're sitting on the sidelines.
That's a big difference. And I mean, it's really, the question is, do you want to get the house, or do you want to wait for a better payment? I mean, you can always pay the mortgage down. You can buy points down. There's a lot of different things. So while this stuff, we're seeing incremental improvements in affordability, I wouldn't wait for this catastrophic event to happen. It's not coming. There's no one here that's going to save you. Jerome Powell's not going to save you. Kevin Warsh is not going to save you if you're a consumer. Your agent's not going to be able to do anything different for you. These are the conditions we are in, and it's very similar to last year. And if we're seeing demand this high, now that could be an anomaly. We'll see what happens. Who knows? There are people that have been waiting for a while to get out there, and with inventory increasing, and we're now starting the year. If you look at national inventory, we're at the highest inventory level that we've seen in 5 years. So there's more options out there. So when there's more inventory, it doesn't mean it's necessarily more competitive, but
Sure.
there's more applications, there's more things happening in the market. So when you look at all this here, we got all this Fed news, you got a new Fed chair, housing demand's positive, buyer affordability is improving. How do you navigate the noise as a consumer, Amy? Because I'm sure you deal with it. Like Redfin had some article that said sellers are now outnumbering buyers. Well, yeah, maybe nationally, but not locally. There's all this stuff out there that can get people all wound up. What advice do you have for people that are confused about all the noise in the marketplace right now? Because to me, there's a lot of good things to talk about with housing.
Yeah.
Some people just don't know what to do.
I obviously take it case by case. So we try to talk a little bit about what they think they're seeing. And then, of course, if I have facts, I'll say, well, this is what's happening in our local market. So you're actually buying in this local market, not Florida, not Texas. Let's look at what's happening in the Philadelphia metro area. Even New York might be a little different, although it's not, and we really, I kind of just filter out, you want to call it noise or nonsense, and we focus on their needs, their affordability, their wants, and narrow it down to making them happy. Because when you calm them down and say, look at this neighborhood, look at your comps, maybe I pull a few more comps and say, this is the areas you were looking at. Do you feel better about this sale price now? I did it yesterday. I don't think this is worth this on this street. Well, let's pull the comps. Let's get the facts. And it starts to oh, okay, I understand. Oh, okay, I see. And, a lot of them don't know. They just hear the noise, assume to imply, insert it in their neighborhoods, in their area. And it could be very, very different from our Philadelphia market.
The data is not going to lie. And when you follow the data, you're just educating people, and it's all that's really what this business is all about. When you aim to educate, there's some agents they say things like, "Oh, I'll get you the house, I can close them," and then they say all this nonsense. It's not about that. It's what's going to make sense for you. How can I help you get there? And here's the facts for you to make a really good decision. What do you want to do? And then a good agent is going to give advice. It may not always be right, and that's why there's options out there. And if you're not giving options, that's how you're setting yourself up to get in some trouble here. So, looking at all this data, I'm cautiously optimistic with the new Fed chair. Maybe we'll see a little more rate cutting happening sooner than later. It sounds like that's going to be the case. We'll see what happens with the Fed meeting. I'm not surprised affordability is improving. Rates have come down. I mean, that's pretty obvious. And when you look at demand, I mean, I've been saying all along, there's a lot of demand out there. It's just a matter of when someone's going to get to the point where they say, screw it, I can't wait any longer. And you've worked with people like that. I think of one client in particular, I think you know who I'm talking about, where we met with them, 18 months ago or something? And they said this, hey, screw it, we're moving. They just had enough. And that's what happens sometimes. It's got to be something that breaks on their end. And that's when you get to that point where you don't want to live somewhere anymore, that's the right time to make a move. And there's no data that's going to help you do that. It's got to be best what's for you and your family.
Definitely. Situations. Everybody's different situation.
100%. That's what you want to evaluate. Can you live in the home the next 5 years? Can you afford the payment? Does it work for you? And as a seller, does it make financial sense to make a move? Do you have a place to go? And is there a reason that you don't want to be there anymore? That's the stuff you really want to ask. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. A lot of news about Philadelphia and the housing and job markets here. We're going to talk about what that means for housing, for real estate, next on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole of the Tom Toole Sales Group at Remax Main Line. If you're thinking
I
of
don't even know
becoming
what
a
I said
real
the first
estate
few
agent in the
minutes.
greater Philly
My
area,
brain
I have a
was
special
like-
You looked all stressed when you were coming in here.
Our team did $165
Sorry.
million.
Yeah, because I was like, I'm gonna. How can you be late for this?
Sorry. It's not the first time it's happened.
I was like, clearly he can talk, but I'm not
No.
there.
I've had some people on like they're on, and they're showing up, they're like here like 20 minutes late. I'm like, what are you guys doing? This was like it's a long drive from
Oh my
I mean,
God.
that'll happen with the
It was an hour drive with that detour. I'm like, an
It's one of the
hour.
reasons why I work from home on
Tuesdays.
yeah, because it's like it still takes me 15 minutes to get from my house. No, it's not that far. Like it's not.
And I was at the dealership getting my oil changed this morning, and I'm like, I gotta leave by a certain point. And he's like, yeah, if not, I'll give you a rental. Then I'm like, okay, it's like an hour and 15 minutes. Like, this is enough time to get down here. And sure enough, the accident. I'm like, I threw it into like a couple different apps. Like, is there? Let me see this map. Let me see that map. Like,
It's difficult like getting here. There's like 4 different ways. Like especially if you're coming from like up that way, like Westchester and Route 3. It's like, you take 476, you can cut through.
it didn't
Bryn
take me
Mawr
that
Ave.
way. I did Bryn Mawr
Yeah.
Ave, and that was like, stop, stop.
I know well.
Yeah.
All
I
too
know.
well.
I know.
It's my commute.
That's your commuter. How long does it take you to get to the office?
Depends. Some days I can get there like 32 minutes. Like that's like
In the morning?
depends the time I leave in the morning. They change the school start times.
Oh, they did.
So
You
high
got the high
school
school
goes
change.
later, and I have to drive right by Lower Marion High. No, I can't avoid that no matter what. Well, I could, but it adds more time. And that's like a freaking disaster over there.
So Conestoga changed too.
Yeah, well, like Bryn gets the bus at 8:45.
If you're buying or selling a home,
The other kids would get the bus at 7:15.
But
2 hours.
middle school.
Yeah. But like, what if you have kids in both? Like, but I don't know what some of these parents. I mean, fortunately, Bridget's able to,
No, I know.
and she drives the other kids because she leaves at 7:30 with them. They'd be on the bus for like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like
It's ridiculous. No, I get it. My son is an hour bus ride home in the evening. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
you don't live that far from the school either, do you?
No, but they need a new school.
Look no further.
That got declined. I bet it's under agreement. Shoot.
Cross-country mortgage. We are local
Anyway,
Pennsylvania lending experts with loans that fit
yeah,
nearly
it's
any unique
nuts. I know.
home buying situation. We've
Just
got
trying to make it
amazing
work.
first-time
I don't know how I'm
buyer
gonna make this
options,
11
low
o'clock
to
role
no
play
down payment
schedule.
programs,
Because
non-finance
I have to set my alarm every
I mean,
day.
pre-approval
It's like a little bit in the middle of my.
That's fine. I mean, you don't have to do it either.
I started my day by then, and I'm like, oh shoot.
UT.
But I set my alarm for tomorrow.
We were trying to be more efficient because it's like we had all these things. I mean, even on the calls, like there's 5 people scheduled, 2 are there, and I'm like,
I know. Are you doing tomorrow or is Paul?
I do Wednesdays.
Okay.
It's by design one, Amy. I got you.
I design. I'm gonna do Wednesday. Yeah, I'm on tomorrow.
I'm putting you guys. Yeah, that's the idea. We're making a little, making it.
Although we're talking BAC.
Well, what I found is like Shiloh's very interesting because it's like you can hear like what's going on, and like so some people like they nail the role play, and then you get the same objection.
Oh no.
Not you. All right. Welcome back to Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Amy Q. We both work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at Remax Main Line, the #1 Remax team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And there has been some serious news about the greater Philadelphia area being named a top 10 hottest housing market by Zillow, as well as a top 10 job market in Philadelphia. We're going to explain what that means for buyers and sellers. If you're thinking about transacting, we've got 2 killer new listings hitting the market as well. One in Broomall, one's Amy's listing in Collegeville. This is a
That's right.
gorgeous property we'll talk about when we wrap up here. And we've got a few open houses as well that we will be highlighting. So if you get some value out of this or you like what you hear, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. And if you want to schedule a call with our team, you can do that with the link right in the comments and talk to Amy Q specifically. So a couple articles dropped. I always find these rankings fascinating because sometimes I feel like people are pulling them out of thin air. Other times there's a lot of good basis to them. So at the beginning of the year, Philadelphia was named a top 10 hottest housing market for 2026 by Zillow. Zillow economists, and I guess, yeah. I mean, Zillow economists analyzed the 50 largest U.S. metro areas for home price growth, past and predicted. Zillow data showing the speed of home sales, the share of sellers who cut prices, and the share that sold above the initial asking price, and the number of new jobs created compared to the number of building permits issued for new homes. And they came up with this list. There were 5 Northeast metros that made the cut. 1, Hartford, Connecticut. 2, Buffalo, New York. 3, New York, New York. 4, Providence, Rhode Island. 5, San Jose, California. Number 6, Philadelphia. So let me give you the stats, and then I want your reaction to this, Amy. So the typical home value, $378,054. 41% of Philadelphia homes sold above their asking price in 2025. That's an incredible number. 39% fewer homes for sale than there were pre-pandemic. I can attest to that. 22% of all listings had price cuts. Philadelphia home values grew 3% in 2025, and values are forecasted to rise another 1.7% in 2026. So we were ahead, and this is we, because we both live here, Boston, Massachusetts, LA, Richmond, Virginia, and Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So what do you think about this list? Tell me your reaction here, Amy. I mean, I was a little shocked to see Philadelphia coming in at number 6. That's just me.
I don't know if I was shocked. I thought, whew, like after what I went through last spring,
Sure, yeah.
41% of the homes sold above their asking price. Yeah, I think I was in that knee deep, and it was a fight every agreement of sale. Having the 39% fewer homes for sale since the pandemic, I felt that, inventory, number one complaint. And then only 22% had the price cuts. So yeah, I think we lived it. I think I'm not quite sure what's up with this Northeast corridor where a lot of these are. And then not a big surprise either about California. I feel like we always, we got the East, we got the West, where you kind of see a lot of that. So I'm not surprised. I know you said you were. I'm not. I mean, look at what we lived through for the last few years.
Sure. Yeah. I guess where I was surprised is where it placed on the list. I mean, you're coming in below places like Hartford, Buffalo, Providence, Rhode Island. I mean, these are much smaller towns. And then you're ahead of LA and Boston. Boston is a bonkers real estate market. I was very shocked to see that versus where we are. And I was surprised there's no like Washington, D.C. on here. You didn't see Chicago. There's no Miami. Now I understand, and I mentioned those cities specifically because they're destination cities. They have a lot of jobs. They have international business there. I was really surprised they were not listed on there. And then you get like a Richmond, Virginia, Milwaukee. I mean, I guess I can understand Milwaukee to a certain extent.
That surprised me.
So looking at this, I mean, I've always believed that Philadelphia is a very underrated housing market. It's much more affordable than its neighbors. Much more affordable than Washington, D.C., much more affordable than New York, much more affordable than Boston. If you're looking at the major metros in the Northeast, I mean, those are really the 4. I mean, there's other places, but those are the 4 major metros. So Philadelphia's always been undervalued compared to those. And you get a lot of the amenities people flock to these places for. Great school systems and private schools. They're all over the place here. You've got
hospitals.
You took the words right out of my mouth. There was a client we met with who relocated here from Nevada. And there was someone in their family that needed medical care for a brain tumor. And if they hadn't moved here, I don't know if they're getting the same care. Like that's very clear. Hospitals are a big deal. A friend of mine lives in Kentucky. He had to take his dad to Houston. That's not close.
Yeah.
To get the right hospital care, and he lives in Louisville, Kentucky. It's not like it's like the middle of Kentucky or something like that. So hospitals are a big deal. Job markets. There's a lot of great jobs here. The commutability to New York, but you have these home price. Even you go to like the Main Line or some of these Rittenhouse Square where the values are high relative to what you get in other places. It's a pretty good value. So I guess we're kind of catching up. It may be what's happening here. That's why I was more surprised than anything else. Philadelphia's always been undervalued. The tax situation in Pennsylvania versus Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey is much better for state income tax.
It is.
Property taxes, I know, are lower than New York and New Jersey. So there's a lot of things here that I think we should be like sitting around like the real estate Thanksgiving table. Like we're grateful for. I mean, there's a lot going on that I think does make Philadelphia pretty attractive.
Yeah, and what I saw the last couple of years, which might have helped. Some people don't see this unless you're in the market. a lot of those New Yorkers were coming down. I don't know if you saw some of that. And a lot of investors, right? Which investors are in their own group altogether. But when New York became so unaffordable for some people, they were coming down. And it really, I think, shifts some of the market because a lot of the competition was, oh, we're from New York, we're from New York, we're from New York. I'm like, wow, all right, and then just being that stable market, like you're saying, maybe we were getting caught up here, but the home values are great. Just everything you're moving here for, all those big pluses, you named them all: work, jobs, affordability, hospitals. Different reasons why people. I'm helping so many doctors since that specific Crozier closed. At least 4 in the last 4 or 5 months, which I thought was a lot, all just due to the hospitals. So yeah,
Well, the good news is they're reopening some of these hospitals too, which there's a lot of stress down in Delaware County right now.
Yeah, so I hear that it's opening. We'll see.
Oh yeah, Crozier, Springfield. I mean, you're by Riddle, so and that's mainline health, which is good. So I do. Philadelphia's very undervalued. I think it's very easy to get around here. You have accessibility to the shore, which I think is undervalued. Being able to like a vacation spot that's 2 hours away. So not surprising there. Now, what a hot market really means, I think we need to define this. Inventory's still low. There's not enough homes out there to keep up with demand, and we talked about that. Even though inventory is growing, I would. We're at a 1.7 month supply in the suburban markets. Philadelphia, the city's at like 3.7, 3.8. That's lower than the 6 month supply that's always considered even. So that would be reason number one. Number two, the price growth here. Now, in some neighborhoods, it's exponential. Overall, pricing has been pretty moderate once the pandemic unicorn years kind of calmed down. Philadelphia's been a steady market. I mean, going through the 2008 crash, we didn't see the same troughs there that other places saw. We've seen single-digit percentage rises, not explosive growth, consistent growth. Sellers still have leverage because there's fewer homes to choose from. And you mentioned there's buyers that are coming in from New York, New Jersey, Maryland's another state that brings a lot of people in. People are still actively moving here. And when you get your price right and the marketing right and the home shows well, you've got leverage. But buyers aren't locked out either. I mean, you can get the right home if you've got a strategic agent that can help you, and look at some of the data and try to identify things. There's always those hidden gems like sitting right in front of people that I think a lot of consumers miss out on.
They do, unless your agent's kind of pointing them out and going through all those details. We have a really good medium, home price. Look at the main line. One little pocket in our metropolitan area, still so hard to navigate. If I get a listing, it sells in a weekend, 20 people through an open house, 20 offers. If you have a buyer, you're pulling out all the 10 stops to make that listing agreement look good. I mean, and that's just one little pocket of what we face. Then you got, the Westchester pocket, the media pocket, where they're untouchable because they're walking distance to such great towns. Malvern, whatever, we talked about the main line. So maybe it's just all that positivity. People, when you have those many people kind of come into the area, a lot of relos recently that I've noticed, all for the reasons we talked about, but particularly a lot in the last 3 months. So all good things for the market, and no surprise why it's hopping.
So we went over why it's hot for sellers. I'm clear before we wrap here. We want to talk about the like what it means for buyers, because it's buyers aren't locked out. So you need a strategy, and I wouldn't expect the wild, frothy demand of 2020 to 2022, but you can't expect it to be the complete opposite either. So what smart people are doing, they're getting their finances in order, getting pre-approved, getting the money in the place where they can move it quickly. They've got their financial documents all together. Doesn't take long. Smart step, though. I mean, that takes you, maybe a couple hours to get all that done?
Yeah. Important number one step.
Then what we see a lot of smart people doing, and savvy buyers, they know where they want to be, and they're studying the market before they walk into showings. So they have an agent, like you're talking about sending comparables before you go look at a property. That's a smart move, because then you can evaluate what you're seeing with a different lens instead of like, oh, we like it, what do we have to do, when you're playing catch up. So knowing where you want, and now you don't always know where you want to start, where you want to land when you get started. That's part of the process, and an agent
Yeah.
can guide you with that. A good agent can. And then be ready and have a multiple offer mindset on terms and price. It's not just price.
Right.
A lot of times people will lose out. They might have the best price because they didn't have competitive terms, like a waived home inspection or things the seller was looking
Terms
for.
matter.
Settlement dates. So there's price and there's terms. We got to balance both. And I think that's really what we're seeing smart people do on the buy side. And we talked about really the positives for people that are sellers. So, and again, it's about getting information. If someone can't articulate to you what's going on in the market and all this stuff going on with the Fed and how it affects you, it's probably time to find a new agent. I think that's probably fair to say. So we also have this job market. I want to get to this real quickly and talk about these listings. We got a couple minutes. So
Okay.
I think one of the reasons why it's such a hot market is because it's also one of 10 job markets setting the stage for strong housing demand in the country. There's a company out there. It's called New Home Source, parent company Zonda, and it put a list together of top employment markets to watch in 2026. Philadelphia came in at number 10, and they call it the Markets to Watch Index. It highlights employment growth, capital investment, demographic momentum, and how they all influence housing demand. They mentioned Philadelphia in particular because of the healthcare employment, the growing med tech ecosystem, stable job growth, like we talked about, and we have a slower and steady labor force growth here. I mean, you talked about all that. I mean, do you feel like that's pretty accurate? I think that's a big driver why it's such a hot housing market.
Spot on. Look at all the people I just helped with that
Mm-hmm.
healthcare employment. Somebody coming in from California, 2 people in particular I showed houses to within the last 2 weeks. One coming from Louisiana, one coming from California, all through the healthcare system. That med tech ecosystem, I didn't remember about that, but that's huge. And then having the stable job growth. It's funny. I'm reading a little bit more, getting to know a little bit more about that with a daughter who's doing some internships and first year in college, and looking at all that stuff. And you don't realize it until you see, like, overall labor force growth is pretty awesome.
Well, and you look at it here. I mean, think about how many places you see getting built for like outpatient procedures. I mean, they're doing this. They're talking about this in the Exton Square Mall. They're
Huge.
doing it in Newtown Square. You saw it in King of Prussia. They've got a CHOP facility there. So,
Yep.
Not having to go to the hospital to get the care you need, to me, is like such a bone. I mean, I hate going to the hospital to go see like a doctor or get something done. Like the fact you can do that not there, to me, is a big plus. And it's bringing a lot of jobs to the market, which is great. So I think that's a big reason why we're seeing Philadelphia turn into the market that it is. So very exciting stuff here. So let's break down these new listings here. We got 2 of them. Amy, you're up first. You got this killer listing in Collegeville. I'm really excited this is coming to the market. Why don't you share all the details and how people can get in touch with you?
Yeah, so 3-bedroom, 2 full bath, 2 half bath, because they finished the basement.
Where's it located? What's the address?
38 East 5th Avenue, and that's in Collegeville.
Mm-hmm.
And love it. It's a custom construction home. They actually used the Amish craftsmen when they were building. Just a few years ago, she found the lot and ended up building her somewhat dream home there, and sits back from the road. Nice long private driveway. Fenced in yard, nice privacy there, close to so many, stores and restaurants and all that fun stuff there too. Great features inside. They had the quartz countertop, a beautiful island for entertaining. I mean, it goes on and on. Ensuite bath, has the double vanities, the finished basement. It's awesome. Call me if you want to go see it. DM me anything, 610-416-7911. Email me. You know where to find me, Remax Main Line. They're in the Westchester office.
Yeah, so Amy's insane because she just gave out her cell phone. Good for her. So
let's see who calls.
So the asking price on this is $724,900. It's 2,200 square feet, 3 beds, 2 full, 2 half baths. Very modern floor plan for this home. This is not what you would expect, and it's right by Ursinus College and kind of in like the downtown Collegeville area there, off Main Street. So I mean, really great spot. This is an incredible property. Yep. And that's going to be, you're showing that by appointment only. If you want to book an appointment, you can click on the link in the comments here. So that's, and that'll get you right to Amy. We've also got another listing in Broomall coming to the market. This is a 4-bed, 2.5-bath, 2,000 square foot single family home at 608 Dolores Drive with an asking price of $750,000. Very modern floor plan here. They've opened up the entire first floor. They've got an updated kitchen, blew out some walls. You know, a lot of times these older homes, they don't have these open concepts. Both of these have that open floor plan a lot of people are looking for.
Yep.
This is a 4-bed, 2.5-bath, finished basement. It's going to be open Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 1, or you can schedule a tour by appointment by clicking on the link in the comments. We've got 2 other quick open houses here. One on Buchert Road in Pottstown. That's going to be open on
Saturday.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Saturday from 1 to 3.
1 to 3, and then one on Latona, 5940 Latona Street in Philadelphia, open Saturday, 11 to 1.
All right, that's all we got. So you want to follow Amy. Follow her on Instagram. Don't call her cell. I mean, you can call her cell phone if you want. I don't know if she really wants you to do that. Amy, what's your Instagram handle?
At Amy Quachari.
So you're going to spell that for everybody because that's why she goes by Amy Q. Smart
Amy
move.
Q. Quaciari.
Yeah, so Amy _ Quachari on Instagram. You can follow me at TomToole3RD, and we'll be back next week on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
All these things. I didn't even remember my